Welcome to my view of the stock market. Today's daily review. You're looking at the Nasdaq on Monday, November 10th. And you can see here that it was the second time that it had pulled back to the 50 since we got liberated back in April. Clearly a technical trade here where it came down to the 50 and bounced sharply. That's a nice bounce. Friday, we had the hammer candle where everybody was, making those MC Hammer, gifts. And so the expectation when you have a hammer candle like that is it'll go lower, just like when you had the inverted hammer candle here and here and here, you expect it to go lower, and it did. It came all the way down to the 50. Then we have this is an inverted hammer candle. And then on Friday, you got the hammer, and today the expectation was higher, and it really did pop higher. 522 points, 2.27% on 6% below the 50-day average volume. I just want to point out that, last week it gave back 3%, a little more than 3%, and today we got back 2.2, and you can see on a weekly chart, this is just a little blip on the radar here. That was a big bar last week from 23,976 down to 22,563. And today we just had an inside, so far, an inside week. Today's only Monday and on light volume. So I just find it fascinating, the stock market, because everybody's bullish. Everybody's expecting, rip-roaring bull market into year end. And, we're probably going to get that. But in the fear of greed, and also in the put call ratios, it's heavily leaning towards the calls. And usually the market moves against the majority. So you'd think that it would go lower, and which it did, shake some fools out, right? Down to the 50. But the fear of greed factor, everybody was way to the oversold, fear side. So it stood to reason that we'd get some sort of a snapback rally, and we did today. I'm not saying it's going to take out the old high from October 29th to 24,019 anytime soon, but it was nice to get some of that back from last week. Like I said, it was down more than 3%. Today up 522 points, 2.27%, close at 23,527. So I'm going to stop with the index there. It was the leading index. Last week when it was down 3%, usually your growth stocks go down two or three times that. And certainly if you owned them, you felt it last week. I certainly did. And that's just the way it goes. And then, so you want to limit your downside when it comes back to the 50, and you want to maximize your upside. So we're going back to green today. Why? Well, because it closed 1.3% above its 21. I believe it's going to resume its uptrend, but we just take things one day at a time, not making any wild predictions of, 25,000 by the end of the year. I didn't say that. I'm just taking it one day at a time. And today was a good day. How about that? All right. Whenever we have something like this, Nasdaq up more than 2%, these Mag 7 stocks are doing well. Apple, they had news about, I don't know, postponing their something, one of their products. It's not going to bother Apple. They're going to be fine. Microsoft, after 7 or 8 days in a row selling off, got a little, like a what do you call it? Like they feel sorry for you because you've been beat up so bad. So they throw you a bone here, up less than 2% today. Meta, the same thing. This thing really sold off hard. I think it has to do with their spend in AI. These companies are spending a lot of money, and I think Wall Street's questioning their return on investment. But it doesn't seem to bother Google. Google has been the top Mag 7 performer in the last year, up 62%. Oh, no, I lied. No, that's not right. That's not right, Martin. NVDA, right? Sorry about that, folks. No, maybe not, huh? Yeah, I guess Google is. NVIDIA's only up 34%. What a dog. Anyway, I had that in my head, and I thought, yeah, Google is the leader in that. Yeah, it certainly is. Okay, so since I mentioned NVIDIA, well, I'll get to NVIDIA in a minute. Got to go to Amazon and Tesla, round out the Mag 7. There's the pullback in Amazon's been super strong. Broke out following its earnings report, undercut the 5 now today, rallied back above it. And then Tesla, there's a lot of noise around this company. Um, Hard for me to really get behind it. Yeah, just a lot of noise. So pull back to the 50 like the index. I know a lot of people love it. That's fine. It's just, I don't, yeah, I don't have any of the Mag 7s. Like, yeah, I don't think they're gonna do well. I mean, right, if the Nasdaq goes up 20% next year, these things are probably gonna go up 25 or 30. But if you want to really outperform, you need something like a sand disk or something like that. Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. This morning on the post parade, like I said, I got chicken scratches here, so I'm gonna be all over the place today. Sorry about that. Like a chicken with my head cut off. Staying on the chicken theme. Yeah, in the post parade video this morning, I talked about some of these retail names that people like to get behind that are really popular, and certainly Palantir is one. And Dr. Michael Burrows last week, has got some notoriety for shorting this stock, which is fine. And then the CEO came out and said he's got a little sensitive about it, but you want some short sellers in your stock because those are potential buyers. In fact, every short seller has to buy to cover at some point. This doesn't have, a huge amount of short interest in it, but he did talk about Michael Burry, who's, he's got his right and then he's entitled to shorting a stock. So that's the way it goes. But anyway, nice bounce here. Undercut the 50 last week, rallied back above all moving averages today. Yeah, it's 3.9% above the 21, 8.5% above the 50. So yeah, congrats to the longs there. Another one that a lot of these retail folks like, and I mean, I've been going back and forth with some people on this one. First of all, there's some areas of the market I don't want to support. Insurance is one of them. I don't care what kind of insurance it is. I just got my insurance bill. I'm not happy about it. So I'm biased. But insurance, I don't know. It's hard for me to get behind and support these companies. But this one down 18%. They reported earnings last week, and it hasn't gone well for them. And another one is Open Door. Man, there's a lot of people, man, behind Open Door, and I get a lot of questions on Open Door. I covered a lot for less than $10 stock. Just want to point out a couple of things. Goldman Sachs took a 5.1% interest in Open Door today. And now this one obviously, had a big run. It was like a 20 bagger from 50 cents to $10. Now it pulled back and today it broke above this downtrend line. Obviously undercut the 50, rallied back above. Where is it? With Goldman Sachs, it doesn't hurt when they're on, providing tailwinds. This is 2.8% above the 50 there at $7.75. You can see it's up in after hours because the CEO said tomorrow is the first day he's eligible to buy stock, and he's going to buy $1 million worth of stock tomorrow morning. So it's undercut the 50, rallied back above, broke above the downtrend line. And I think this thing's possibly starting, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you can see the hammer candle on Friday, follow through to the upside today. You can see this green line, which is the 5, right? And this one's up pointing due north. So you see the 5 and the 21. We're going to trade through the 50 here, most likely within a few days. So I think this is going to start another uptrend. You could see this RS line heading due north, which is, in comparison to the S&P 500, of course, which was down, right? The market was down sharply on Friday, and so this thing was up. So it's definitely outperforming the last couple of days. Just want to point out that to all you open door longs. I know the housing market's not very strong, not a place you'd think you'd want to invest, but open doors up 21% today, and it's above its moving averages, broke above a downtrend line. And I would say, today the 50 day was $7.75. I'd say once it's above that, I'd say that's a buy sign, and I could put this on our ready list tomorrow and feel pretty comfortable with that move. So yeah, I like Open Door here. All right. We hear all about the data centers, AI, how much Amazon and Meta and Google, they're all Microsoft are spending. We hear about the data centers, all the building, which helps companies like Sterling, and there's just a lot to go around in the AI infrastructure and the data center plays, but none of it happens. None of it happens without energy, and we need all sorts of energy And the energy grid is, yeah, it's not ready for this big data center in our town. The Tucson voted down a data center because not because of the energy, which is a consideration, because it uses too much water. And people are pretty happy that the city voted it down. But this is a Canadian solar. I know solar is out. The administration doesn't like it, but I'm just going by the chart here, and this thing's breaking out like a monster. And you can see this energy solar group is a top five group. This thing, broke out of this double bottom a while back in the last 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and this week, actually 2 weeks ago, last week and this week, this thing has just been on fire. Another one that I like in this solar group is Next Tracker. You can see it was up nearly 3% today, but this one's broken out and just surfing the moving averages beautifully. SEDG. Believe this is yeah, look at this gap up out of a base here, man. 41.92 your trigger. Now close at 45.38 today. That's a nice power gap higher. So yeah, I like some of these solar plays. Speaking of energy, I just got to go back. Kind of a weird day because CIFR mining was down. It pulled back to its 21 on Friday. I thought for sure it was going to pop today, but nope, they held it down. Maybe tomorrow. You can see the volume drying up here. It's still above its five, but just kind of a weird day with the market up so much. What I say, the Nasdaq 520 and 2 point something percent, 2.2%. I would think these stocks would do well, but they didn't. And this is Iris Energy. Obviously, they're up a lot. So there's some profit taking here. But yeah, as long as it holds above the 21, this one looks fine, even though it's down 3.5% today. Bloom Energy, another one with these fuel cells. Yeah, this one looked like it was going to run today. It was up 147.86. I believe that's right near the old high from yeah, 147.82. So it did make a new high, then pulled back. I want to see something I wanted to point out too is it a lot of people said, they bought in pre-market or they bought at the open. A lot of times this is what happens on a Monday morning gap up. You get these, bullish retail folks and they run it up, and then guess what? The the professionals just sell, and so they're providing exit liquidity for the pros. And this one never got back to its high, or so you got to be careful. And that's why I wanted the chat box because I would have told you, just kind of wait an hour. I'm gonna have to go back to the Nasdaq now since I'm doing this. Yeah, gapped higher, then pull back. So this is where you want to buy. You wait, right? And then it ramps into the close. So you don't just, what's the old saying? Fools rush in. Yeah, yeah, you don't want to be chasing stuff like that. So it's very seductive. I know it is when you see everything going up, rallying right at the open. But oftentimes, it pulls back and fades. Today's news, I mean, when you're relying on government to do something as a strategy for stocks, that doesn't sound too promising because the government rarely gets something done. But apparently, the government's going to open. Yippee. It's been closed since October 1st, and that was part of the impetus for the rally today. Anyway, I digress. I want to go back to that energy group because, like I said, none of this stuff with NVIDIA or AMD or all these companies, they're not going to go anywhere without energy. And this is a nuclear play. They reported earnings last week, still below the 50 LEU. Another one down today. Yeah, it was a pretty rough day for these energy plays. I'm not really sure why with the Nasdaq up so much. This one's consolidating in the base, but it's below its 50, down today, while the Nasdaq was ripping. HUT, I know this one was up. Yeah, there's another power play. Pulled back to the 50, bounced Friday and followed through today. So that one looks pretty good. BITF. This one was down today too, man. This one's pulled back to its 50. And then VST, I think I showed you that one earlier, right? Yeah. All right. Told you I had chicken scratches all over the place. All right. I'm going to go back to the hardware names for the AI infrastructure, right? The AI revolution. AMD reported earnings last week and immediately sold off below its 21. You could see strong sales and earnings growth. They have an investor day tomorrow. So it's like an all-day thing, I believe. So, and I believe it's in Santa Clara. So they have teams of folks speaking, including the CEO, Lisa Su. We'll see what they have to say at their investor day. NVIDIA, I showed you this one already, didn't I? I think I did. It was up on 199 after hours. Yeah, the Taiwan Semiconductor reported revenue growth. You know, they report revenue growth, or they report revenue every month, so it's nothing out of the ordinary. But then Jensen Huang, the CEO, had some positive things to say about AI going forward. So the stock was up pretty nicely today. And then TSM is Taiwan Semi. They did report, strong sales. They do quarterly reports, but they do revenue monthly. I don't know why they do that, but anyway, it's a Taiwan company. They can do whatever they want. Pull back to the 50 like the Nasdaq. Close above the moving averages like the Nasdaq. So Taiwan, this is a big $1.5 trillion company that not too many people talk about, but pretty important company in that semiconductor space. So is Broadcom. So it's got this cup with handle, it broke out and then had a fake breakout pull back to the 50, like the NASDAQ. You can see that high in the handle here of 363.24. It's just a tick below that. So that one could go on the um, um, ready list tomorrow as well. Kind of like Broadcom. Let me see. Where am I at, man? Like I said, I can't read my own writing. Okay, more hardware stocks. This is the top stock in the top group. I know it's ranked number two, but performance-wise, I mean, it is hard to beat SanDisk right now. And I get people all the time. I mean, even back here saying it's topping, it's topping, it's topping, it's topping. No, it's not. It's in price discovery, folks. Um, if you take a look at, some of the out years on SanDisk, they're going to earn like $20 here, 2027, $12 next year, growing at triple digits. Now, remember that this is a cyclical business. So when the cycle is in full swing like it is now, it's great. But when the cycle goes the other way, these things, you don't want to be around these things. And they'll top when the market, the market will sell off and they'll top when their fundamentals look the best. So you got to be careful here. I don't see any sell signs right now. This thing looks like it's in price discovery, wants higher prices. And I'm saying it's not an expensive stock. Even, and I've been saying that for a while, right? I was saying that like at $100. Now it's at 270. And what's the market cap now? Yeah, 39 billion. Okay. So you're looking at well, like I said, forward numbers, you got to look forward. $20 in earnings, right? So what is it? Just barely, 13 PE. I mean, I don't think that's expensive, but you can't really trade a growth stock like that either. That the growth is there. The sales growth is there. You're looking at about, I don't know, probably about 15 billion in sales for a 13 billion in sales. You're looking at about three times sales right now, even after this run. So still not an expensive stock. When will I say it's expensive? I don't know. Maybe when it gets about above five times forward sales. Um, the PE is certainly not 98 if you're looking at the forward numbers for this year. Yes. $3. Yeah, of course. But the market looks forward and the market knows that these stocks are cyclical and we're in the up cycle here. If I go to WDC, which is the mothership for SanDisk, you can see for a long time this didn't do anything. This is in a downtrend from way back in the day, right? I mean, this thing has done nothing for a long, long time. So finally, it gets a little love here, and people want to say these things have topped already. I don't think they have, but I'm I'm not the court jester here. I'm just another guy trying to make money in stocks, and this one's making me money. So as long as it's making me money, I'm going to stick with it. As long as it stays above the five, and the five's trending higher, trend traders gotta love that. You're in the chips, so there's no sell sign there in my opinion. And you never have to say in my opinion because I'm the one saying it, right? Seagate Technology, another one that had that buy point there at 264. It undercut, had strong earnings. This is, one of those Darvis, box type of trades there. Once it's out of the box, it's go time. And yeah, Seagate, another one of these strong names. And you can see, the if you look at the earnings line, this is the earnings, this is a cyclical business where the earnings just flat out, are weak, weaker, weaker, then it bottoms, and now the cycle turns, and now we're in the up part of the cycle. How long does it last? I don't know. I'm not one of these innings guy. We're in the first inning or the ninth inning. We're in the ball game, and we're just watching the ball game. How about that? Grab some peanuts and popcorn and Cracker Jacks and enjoy the game. All right. Who else do we have here in this group? Just a lot of hardware names, that I like. Sanmina, I like. Yeah, the Solar Brothers are thrilled to death with their stock. As long, like I said, as long as it stays above the five, this one's up 2.5% today. CLS was upgraded today. It pulled back to the 50 last week, like the Nasdaq, and like a lot of other things. Still, within this consolidation pattern, though, I think like 365 or something, it would have to trade above that to break out of this little consolidation pattern. So it's got a ways to go. It's got some work to do. That sell-off last week, set a lot of stocks back. Yeah, 360, 340. I'd call it 365. If it closes above there, then we're in business on Celestica. Just a lot of names, man. Vertiv, the data center. Like I said, these things they're susceptible to the energy grid. We need power. And all of these names that I like, I realize and recognize in the back of my head at some point, the orders are going to slow down because they're going to figure out we don't have enough energy to drive all these data centers. But Credo, nice base here, nice pullback. 176.70 would be another one that I would consider putting on the ready list. We know this one moves a lot. And ALAB's another one of these connector companies. Once again, they need the energy. So for me, my primary in AI, yeah, I want a semiconductor, but I also want an energy play. And the Bloom Energy is the one that I like. But anyway, already went down that road. I think I've done enough with all this energy, hardware, software, AI stuff. I want to uh, turn the tables here, throw a curveball, whatever. And this is Eli Lilly. Had this on the ready list, I think last week or the week before. But anyway, it's had a strong move. And then today presented data, and these guys are just on a roll. You could see this earnings line, right? This is the weight loss, obesity thing is a big deal. But they have a lot of other drugs in the pipeline. Eli Lilly is certainly no one-trick pony, but right there at that old high, I could put this on at a standard buy point for what is this, 972. I'm not going to though, because I think it's just a little extended. Feels like chasing here to me. If it pulled back to the five there, I think that's an opportunity. Today it closed 4% above the five. So oh, I know. Bury the lead. MTSR was bought out today. And this is the problem when you speculate, right? Because it was bought out by Pfizer like a month ago, right? It was announced in September. Okay. The end of September, and then it went sideways, and everybody thought, oh, okay, Pfizer is going to buy this. Then Novo Nordisk, threw his hat in the ring and it jumped 22%. And then people started speculating, well, there's going to be a bidding war. There's going to be other companies coming in for this. And they started bidding it up and up and up and up. And guess what happens? Over the weekend, Novo says, nope, we're out. We're going to go look at something else. And what happens is there is no bidding war. Pfizer's going to pay that, I don't know what it was, 10 billion. Still not bad for MetSara longs there. You can see this, spike higher. And what is this, 4 or 5 weeks tight, 3 weeks? It looks like about 5 weeks before Novo got involved. But anyway, that deal, yeah, Novo's out. So that also leads me to believe that Novo will pursue Viking. I firmly believe that. This new CEO, he wants a feather in his cap. Novo's got a ton of money, and they're going to throw the bazooka at Viking, I think. Um, but they're not going to overspend, and that's part of the problem with Viking is I think their management's pretty difficult to work with, and they have a overvalue. It's like when you put your house for sale and you think it's worth 1 million, and the buyer think it's worth 500,000. So there's a little bit of a mediation, negotiation that needs to go on there. And the appraiser comes in and says, no, it's worth 750. So you meet in the middle, right? The homeowner always thinks his is worth more than what it actually is on the market. I think that's what's happening with Viking. They just think it's worth more than what it really is, or what the market's willing to pay. I mean, that's always what the market's willing to pay, and that's what the value is, right? Same with your home or your car or anything else. All right, some other news, trial news. This is Cogent Biosciences had a pretty nice day today. Up 119%. Thank you very much. And closed at 28% of the daily range. It was up to 36.15, but still a nice day for that one. And what else we have? Oh, WGS. This isn't really a drug stock, it's a medical services. But yeah, breaking out of a base here, looking pretty good, making new highs. I just want to point that out. I'm going to move on to some of the gap plays that I've been talking about recently, starting with Datadog. And they gapped up on Thursday. I made a video this weekend. I think these are stocks to watch. This is another tell. Besides leading stocks, how gaps perform is a tell of how strong your market is. And Datadog, geez, super strong today, making a new high. And then Lemonade that gapped up last week, pulled back to the five. Another strong move today. That one looks pretty good. MD, this is one that I like a lot. Pulled back to the five today. Let's take a look at the 5 minute chart on this. Yeah, it sold off at the open. It was way down. And then boom, buyers came in. Thank you very much. Nice 3% gain today. And then the one that, I don't know, people can't get behind or this is the silicone filled breast and body shaping implants, okay? Body shaping. Yeah, it made a high today of 69. So somebody's got a sense of humor here. Anyway, just a breakout and a move higher. I mean, this is a breakout of, if that was a software name, people would be talking about it like crazy. This is, like I say, a body shaping implant company, so nobody talks about it. I don't know. I like stocks that go higher, so I'm attracted to that. How about that? Enlight Laser, another one that gapped up on Friday and traded. You remember Friday was not the greatest day, and today just 6.75% move for Enlight. Super strong name. Same with this one here, TER Teradyne. Gapped higher on earnings, pull back to the five. And like I said, when a trend trader, if it's above the five's going higher every day. You don't have to hold it very long and you're in the chip. So yeah, that's why I like stocks that are above the five, that are trading above the five, that can hold above the five. LITE, this one, I'm gonna cry in my beer. Another new high today, 273.89. Once again, staying above the five and making new highs. XMTR, this one had a nice move last week, pulled back to the five. This is textbook stuff here. As you power through the pivot, big volume, highest volume in quite a while. It takes a couple of days. Thursday and Friday weren't the greatest days, but it did pull back to the five on Friday and bounce. Had that hammer candle and then followed through today. 2.5%. We'll take that. We're gonna throw 2.5% away. We're not gonna, that's fine with me. Globus Medical, this one's up 3% today, man. I was looking at the open, it was selling off. I thought, this one's, not much. This little pullback here in the morning, down to 81.89, close at 86. So nice day. Yeah, close at 85% of the daily range. Frog, I don't think I included this in my weekly video that I sent out on Sunday. I think I missed this one. I believe I did. Nice gap, higher 27% on Friday. Power through the pivot, the highest volume in like forever. So, gosh, I missed this one. Darn it. 52 would be your pivot there. And now 64 after moving 7% today, 7.25%. QLYS, this is a cybersecurity name. I'm sorry for going through all these, but you should be writing these down and at least take a swing at one or two of these. I mean, this is a stage. It says stage 1B because this base here, but this is all just one base to me. And now it's starting to emerge out of this base following a nice move last week of 22%, another 1.5% move today. Look at that move off the bottom, man. That looks good to me. And then a Digital Ocean, I'm happy for the longs of Digital Ocean. A couple of my friends have been long this for a long time because they believe in it, and sometimes you just have stocks that you like and you believe in. And finally, this thing's following through to the upside, another 4.5% gain today. SGI, I just put this one in there because I'm amused. Household furniture company, pillows, and once again, it's just a base and a pattern and a move higher. And you got to respect that. I don't care what company it is. If that was NVDA, people would be you know, talking about it all day long, but this is just Somni Group International, so nobody cares. But yeah, nice strong move for that one. All right. TSL, this is one that I talked about the last quarter when they reported. This is not it. God, I'm dyslexic sometimes. TLS. They reported, and I was a $2 or $3 stock, and nobody cares, right? But it just continued higher after this earnings report. And it pulled back a little bit of a wedge pattern here into earnings, then popped very nicely, 22%. They reported to this morning, I guess. So anyway, yeah, nice move for TLS. It has this history of being now a serial gapper. It's done it twice. The last time it did it, what did it do the next day? It was up, oh wow, a cool 35%, 62% one day, 35% the next day, 21. I'll take a 10% gain tomorrow. Why not? And the last one is SKYT. I got to admit, I don't know anything about this. Skywater Technology, a foundry, the US tech foundry up 31% today. It just crossed my screen, so I wrote it down, but I don't really know much about it. But anyway, it's a semiconductor manufacturing stock that, yeah, that's a nice move that'll catch a lot of screens. All right. Gold today making a comeback. It undercut 4,000 and then recovered over the weekend. Now it opened today over like it was up a couple percent up near 4,050. And the gold stocks responded. This is Anglo Gold, Ashanti up, nearly 7%. Nice move for the gold stocks today. DRD up 3.71. Wheaton, um, yeah, that one had a nice move as well. And even the copper plays, Ivanhoe Electric, a nice 7% move today for that one. So it just pulled back to the 50. This is classic stuff here because it broke out, made a new high at 1790, pulled back to the 50, found support and bounced. Do you think it's going to go back above those moving averages? I do. All right. The oil stocks. Now, I haven't been talking enough about the oil stocks because they're starting to look pretty darn good. This is DK. This one's out of the box. This one's gone. So it's good to see some of these names, really flexing here. This is a Par Pacific. This is a refiner. Broke out, consolidated a little bit, pulled back to the 21, now bounced to a new high today, up more than 5%. EQT, this is one that I like because it's got a combination. It's an integrated play, oil and gas, natural gas, consolidating within a base still. 57, 55 would be my trigger, and it's starting to get away from me. Have I bought any of these? No, I haven't. Sorry. VLO, Valero. Yeah, just consolidating with the base. Probably needs a couple of days here to form a handle. This is a big 54 billion market cap company, a refiner. Definitely one that I'm watching though. IMO, another one that I'm watching in the oil and gas space, man, up with handle now, moving higher today, pushing away from the base up at 2.25%. So I'm just trying to keep an open mind here. um, Suffer with insurance. I'm mad at the insurance companies, but trying to keep an open mind, not trying to be all AI, data center centric here and energy centric. Want to get some other names. And gold is a place you could, cast your line, wet your line, and see if you can reel in some big fishes. And the oil and gas and gold, I think, is two areas where, you know, they're showing I don't know what you'd say. The speculators are speculating, they're looking better. This is another area, of course, in the AI data center build out. that I like, that construction is going to do well as long as you're building data centers. It seems like that's the only thing holding us up here. It's certainly not the retail folks. And then I did mention Sterling earlier. And then what's the other one that I like in this group? Quanta no crashes, not bad. And then TPC has been really strong. Yeah, it's kind of giving some back there. Not too bad. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except in honor of the great Steve Jobs. I have one more thing. Tonight, we heard earnings from, and I use the term earnings loosely here. CoreWeave, losing money. They talk about their backlog. I don't know. You know, I have a hard time. I think you could do better than CoreWeave. Look at this earnings line heading south. I just think you could do better than CoreWeave. I don't have a good feeling about this company. How about that? So I stay away. I would prefer NBIS, which reports tomorrow, but whatever. Okay, who cares? Who cares what I like? A Rigetti, these guys reported, get this, 1.95 million in annual sales. 1.95 million in annual sales. It was, nearly I don't know, 18 billion market cap. Today it was down 2%, down to 10 billion. Tomorrow it should get another haircut with that report tonight. Just losing money, no prospects of making any money. Come on, 1.9 million in sales with a 10 billion market cap. That's where the froth in the market is. And the market will rectify it over time. I mean, the market's not that efficient, but it'll weed the weaklings out. ASTS reported another company losing money with a 25 billion market cap, but everything's looking forward to losing more money. I don't know. These things go up on, the rocket ship's going up, right? You can see that, pretty paltry sales here for a company with a 25 billion market cap. But anyway, it's up after hours. So Rocket Lab, kind of the same thing. This one's up a lot after hours, 8%. But kind of in the same boat here. You're looking at a 25 billion market cap here with gosh, I don't know, 600 million in sales, maybe. It's just millions to billions. This stuff doesn't add up. So I'm a little old school. I don't know. That stuff kind of bugs me. And then Wolf reported no action after hours. Oh, there you go. Down a 1/4%, just flat. Like I said, in the morning, we're going to hear from Nebius Group. They'll probably report a strong quarter. ADR, SE is a ticker symbol. Gosh, they're below their 200 last week. So we'll see what they have to say. Dava reports in the morning. And Orla, another one of these gold miner plays. So, Canadian, we'll see what they have to say, man. They undercut their 50 now. They undercut their 200. Been trading sideways for a long time, but up almost 8% prior to earnings tomorrow. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening. I'll be back in the morning.